What is going on, everyone? Welcome to yet another episode of the Schoch Factor Podcast, where this week I am joined by a man who needs no introduction, as I usually am, but this one's extra special. We're going international this week. We got Travis Bazzana. Travis, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Steven. Good to be
So,
on here.
Travis, you just got back to school from winter break, but for you, winter break's a little different because you're in an entirely different hemisphere. Were you able to go home?
Yeah, I got home for Christmas and the New Year, so it was pretty exciting. Lucky enough, it's summer in Australia right now, so I got to be in the sun and kind of switch back from the cold Oregon weather, which was nice.
Yeah, you get a real interesting situation where it's like, okay, I'm going home for winter break, but I'm gonna be in the water all the time. I'm gonna be in a nice hot climate. It's pretty good setup you got there.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I love it back home, and definitely enjoy the beach and the water. So it was good.
Yeah, so back home for you, of course, is correct me if I'm saying this wrong, but Turramurra, Australia.
Yeah, that's where I went to high school. It's kind of the yeah, that's where I'm from. Yeah.
So, and that's near Sydney, if I recall correctly. I'm not great at
Yeah, it's
geography. I
No, that's okay. It's like a suburb of Sydney, like North Sydney.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's not bad at all. So, what are
Yeah.
some of your favorite hobbies to do when you go back home?
Um, Go to the beach, golf a little bit with my friends, mainly my baseball friends that are back in Australia. Um, and yeah, kind of just considering I'm not back there very often now, it's
Hmm.
usually just like spending quality time with my family and friends. The ones that I don't get to see very often. So just like whether it's going out for lunch or dinner or breakfast or anything like that, just catching up with people.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And from my research, the food in Australia looks really good. I'll have to try some of it. Do you have a favorite Australian food?
Yeah, no, I, my roommates hear enough of it about me talking about Australian food. Um, I always end up comparing it to Australia, and I think it's better in Australia, but there's still some pretty good options we don't have back home. Australian food. When went home, I had one of my favorite foods, and it reminded me that that's the answer. When I get this question, my auntie makes a white chocolate cheesecake, and
Oh,
it's just unbelievable. Like any other cheesecake I've ever had. It's way above the rest. So maybe my favorite Australian food is home cooked cheesecake from my auntie.
I mean, I feel like that's a good answer for just about anywhere in the world.
Yeah,
Your sales
yeah,
pitch for it sounds incredible, though. So
yeah,
I'm jealous that sounds like a really good choice there. But
yeah.
kind of shifting towards baseball, for you in high school, did you play multiple sports or was it just all baseball all the time?
Yeah, I played multiple sports. However, in Australia, high school sports isn't really a big deal unless you sort of go to a private school for rugby or cricket.
Hmm.
The public school sports system, which I was a part of, is sort of just very. There's not much competitiveness or like seriousness to it. The competition is pretty light. Like there's not much practice or anything like that. So you spend your time playing sports sort of outside of school with clubs and representative teams that are for the local area, kind of like all-star teams and stuff. That's sort of how the sports scene works a little bit. Um, and so, yeah, I played soccer and rugby sort of when I was younger, but mainly in high school it was uh, baseball, cricket, and a little bit of track and field, a little bit of long jump. So, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the speed for you, we get to see it on the base pass. I feel like it probably
yeah,
translated to track pretty well.
yeah,
But
I think so.
for you playing baseball and cricket, I feel like is that common? Like, do many people do that? Because I feel like it would just totally tank the strike zone discipline when baseball season came. I mean, that's coming from a guy who's completely ignorant about cricket. I do not understand. I've never like investigated or looked into it as much. So I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, I think it's not very common to play both. I think a lot of cricketers, and they kind of just stick to it. They don't even play much soccer and rugby. I don't, from what I remember. But um, yeah, it didn't get in the way of anything to do with baseball. I felt like I was putting all my extra time into baseball practice, but then I was showing up for cricket, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
so um, I think cricket just became more reps of hand-eye coordination, really. Like you're just seeing a ball and hitting it. And that I definitely think the extra reps playing cricket helped me with my barrel skills and just maybe even my swing decisions when it came to it, just because of like seeing something and hitting it more and more. I think it's just practice reps, even though it's a different thing. It's still like using the same parts of your brains and all of that. So like yeah, I think that it was helpful and I was able to kind of separate the two in terms of not letting my cricket swings affect my baseball swings, and then also just being able to have a specific baseball approach in the box and
Yeah.
like not back like a cricketer. You
Definitely. And like that's a very good point. I think maybe it even helps subliminally because like in cricket you'll see pitches that are bowls that like bounce and try to hit the wicket. So you're kind of seeing a ball travel in a different dimension than you ever really see on a baseball field. So maybe like I'll have to do some additional research into you with how you do against pitchers with high ride because I feel like maybe you have an advantage there where it's the pitches that look like they're staying up. So
know?
I,
Yeah.
I I gotta know though, have you ever like had a pitcher throw you a curveball in the dirt that bounced kind of good, and you're like, wow, I could have actually kind of cranked that just based on my cricket experience?
I've never thought of that. I think when a curveball in the dirt, it's either like if I take it, I'm stoked. Like, yeah, that was great. I took it. Definitely not thinking about cricket in the moment. And then if I swing at it, I'm like, damn, I look silly. This is embarrassing. Nah, but
Well, you
um, yeah,
well, you're the one player in college baseball I feel like that can be like, no, actually, like it was smart of me to swing at that because I've cranked that pitch before in
that's
cricket. I've
it.
done it. You know, I had a plan actually. I knew what I was doing. It just didn't
Yeah,
work.
might have to try it this year.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, obviously don't try to swing and miss at curveballs in the dirt, but if I do come across a highlight of you hitting a 12-6 curveball that goes 48 feet, 350 feet over the right field wall, I will be super stoked and I will refer to this moment.
No, that would be awesome.
Now, so baseball was kind of an extracurricular thing where I feel like in Australia it sounds like you kind of really had to be passionate about it to be pursuing it. So, going along that vein, what was getting recruited to play baseball in America like, just with playing in Australia a whole life?
Yeah. Uh, I always knew that I wanted to play baseball in the US and pursue a major league dream, for lack of a better word. But yeah, once I got to 14, 15 years old, it was about finding the best path to get to the States and make a step towards the major leagues kind of thing. So yeah, I started to look into what college would look like and maybe a pro opportunity as a 16-year-old, but it ended up being best for me to try to find a good college opportunity. And I really thought that I was going to end up going to a junior college because that was sort of the Australian way back when was just like D1 schools aren't going to see you enough. Um, and you're not going to play if you go there as a freshman out of Australia. So you got to go to a junior college. And that was sort of what I was expecting to do. And then I had a mentor who was part of a business at the time, or two mentors, Trent Olchin and Ryan Rollins Smith, and they kind of told me like, look, we train some American kids going to these quality schools, and you can really like get recruited by them, and you just need to kind of prepare the best, and you'll be able to get recruited by them. And they instilled this confidence in me, and sort of there was a period leading up to the Fall Classic in Arizona in 2019, where I just was really focused on being prepared to get recruited by the colleges that I wanted to. And um, yeah, after getting my transcripts and SATs all sorted out and just trying to get myself sort of peaking athletically into that showcase and tournament, I got recruited by Oregon State and a couple West Coast schools. And uh, yeah, lucky enough, I chose Oregon State, and now I'm here in my third year. So it was sort of an interesting process because you have to travel to the US to get recruited, unless you're just getting recruited over video, which often it's hard to get a good deal
Yeah.
or a really quality program just over video or something like that. So yeah, I got over to the States, and lucky enough, I performed when it was that 2 week period where it really mattered. And uh, Oregon State was one of my dream schools, and now, yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean, that whole story is incredibly awesome because, I mean, we talk about it all the time, or I'm contacted a lot by people trying to get recruited and they're asking, like, hey, what can I do? And it's crazy to think about, like, we view that time period as a ton of pressure for high school baseball players here in America. And it's like 3 to 4 years sometimes. And for you, it's
yeah,
like you got 2 weeks. You're either going to do it or you aren't. And
yep,
you proved yourself, and you were right. I mean, Oregon State made a very solid choice with picking you, but also it sounds like there were options, and you got to pick Oregon State as well. So what was it about Oregon State that you were so interested in?
yeah. I think I went into the recruiting trip with a couple key like thoughts that I was going to bring myself back to when I was making a decision about a school, and it was like coaching, sort of relatability, and how comfortable I felt with them. So the staff was sort of step one. Like, did I feel like I could be myself from the get-go as soon as I get there? Do I feel right now comfortable in conversation with these coaches? Do I think they're going to help me flourish as a person, or are they sort of coach and you're just a player and you're just another guy? I don't know. I felt comfortable and valued at Oregon State, truly. And then I wanted to be a part of somewhere that had a rich winning history and a, a real knack for player development. And that was the year after they won the national championship. Um, and being a second baseman, I just saw Nick Madrigal going the top 5 picks overall, and Adley Rutschman do the same. And it was sort of like the perfect storm, considering I felt really at home with the staff and like the people I met while I was getting recruited. So it was just everything, and it's really played out like that way. Like I get along great with the staff. I see them as more than just my coaches, and that people I'm going to have in my life forever. So it's been incredible.
Yeah, no, that's something that I really love to hear just because that's so good for the game of college baseball. It needs more players and coaches like that where they're kind of transparent, and it's not always just about, hey, I want to win. It's, hey, I want to win, but be with people I actually enjoy being around. And it sounds like you really have that at Oregon State.
Yep.
And so, starting off your freshman year, you mentioned, hey, a lot of kids from Australia will go the JUCO route because they don't really get to capitalize on that freshman year. That wasn't the case for you. You came out of the gate firing. You hit 306. You hit 6 bombs, 16 doubles, just insane stuff to start off your college career. What was your mentality like going into that freshman fall where it's like, okay, I got to earn a spot here, and then carrying, okay, I've earned this spot throughout the season. Now I'm going to keep this spot.
Yeah. I was lucky. I got set up once I got recruited by Oregon State. Um, I planned to play summer ball with the Corvallis Knights in preparation for my freshman fall. So before I even started at Oregon State, I played summer ball at Corvallis, or in Corvallis at Goss Stadium, which is the Beavers home field. Um, which means that like I played in front of our coaches 15 or 20 times in the summer at home. Um, and lucky enough, I played great and played with confidence and just had it going for me in the summer ball to where I knew they'd seen me. I'd talked to them. and I knew I'd impressed, and I was like, I'm ready, and they were telling me the same thing. You're ready, like uh, you're gonna make an impact for us this year, and that's before I even had my first fall practice. And obviously, the coaches can tell you whatever they want, but it was real. It was like after a game, with their family around or something like that. Like I played myself into confidence going into the fall, but also they like sort of instilled that even more in me that like don't shy away from anything. Like you're going to be a guy for us this year. Yeah. And then from the fall, I played good and felt like I further earned my spot. But I had confidence going into the fall just because of the summer right before the fall and also having the coaches backing me.
Yeah, and I mean that sounds like an unbelievably great setup because I love when schools. One, I don't love it because it's like some schools will bring guys to train over summer and get
Yeah.
acclimated. Like when I transferred to UVA, I had to go over summer and do conditioning and stuff in school, which wasn't super
Yeah.
fun. But I at least
Yeah.
got used to the environment, knew where I was going to go after games to get food. I knew everything about Charlottesville that I needed to know. And so for you, that's such a good setup where you can play at the stadium where it's like, okay, that's the batter's eye I'm going to be looking at when I'm trying to hit doubles and inner squads and impress the coaches. Like, this is the
Yep.
setup. This is all of the preparation area and everything I need to be ready. So that's such a good setup.
Yeah.
Now, while we're
Sure.
on the topic of summer ball, of course, you had a phenomenal sophomore season as well at Oregon State, and this summer you got to play in the Cape Cod League for the Falmouth Commodores, where again you tore it up. You hit above 370 once again, which that's kind of just what you do at this point. But what was it like playing up on the Cape?
It was amazing. The people, the environment in the Cape, the staff we had, the players I played with and against, just everything was like what I would love to be doing. Just playing baseball every day in the nice weather, good food out there. It was just a perfect summer in my eyes, and I loved it. I got to meet a lot of quality people and quality players that I think I'm going to be watching or playing against or playing with in the future. That's something I'll kind of cherish for a long time.
Yeah, looking back, I will say when college ball was done for me, I was sad, but I was also a lot older than a lot of people. So like a lot of my friends from my time in the Cape were like making their MLB debuts. So it was like, oh,
Yeah,
this is awesome. Like the people you meet up there stick with you forever. And in the
yeah,
world of baseball, it just gets smaller and smaller the further and further you play, which I'm sure you're recognizing. But I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, and I actually played with Travis Bazzana when I was on the Cape. So it's a really cool situation. But what was your favorite food up on the Cape?
I think warm lobster roll with
Oh,
butter. I think a lot of people like the cold ones, and I don't mind them, but I feel like the best food I had there was maybe the first lobster roll I had, which was a warm one with butter, and I loved it. But then again, I feel like there's a lot of food going over my head right now for the Cape. But that's just what like comes to my mind when I think of food. So yeah, I'd
no,
say that.
that's a staple. That's a phenomenal answer. I've never had a cold one. I think that would kind of freak me out. I like the
Hmm.
warm ones though with the butter. I feel like any sort of sandwich that you can douse in butter is a good sandwich. That's a
Yeah.
winner in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so how would you compare? Were you able to? I know there's not many off days. Were you able to go to any of the beaches on Cape Cod?
Yeah. My host family sort of lived right on the
Ooh,
beach, a couple minutes walk, but like a true walking distance. So I was there most mornings just to freshen up, have a swim, walk around, do something other than sit in the house. And uh, yeah, I didn't go to many beaches other than that, maybe one or two local ones, but mainly just yeah, by my host family's house was a beach, and I spent a good amount of time there with my roommates. alone, just hanging out. So
No,
it was yeah, definitely great.
that's not a bad setup at all, but I gotta ask, because Cape Cod, it's one of America's best places. It's one of the coolest places we have to offer. How did the beaches on the Cape compare to Australia beaches? Are they like wildly, completely different?
Yeah, they're different. I think a lot of the beaches I went to were more calm on the Cape than
Hmm.
Australian. Um, but then again, like there's so much different beaches, I can't really make a full like Cape versus Australia comparison. But I'd say, yeah, the beaches were a little more calm and small, and a lot of Australian beaches are like longer, more populated with more surfers and um, maybe some bigger waves. But they're both nice. And yeah, I don't know. I'd say I've got Australia over the Cape, but the Cape does a really good job. Especially like I'm living in the Northwest in Oregon here, and Oregon beaches are not really like, yeah, they don't really compare. So it was cool to be somewhere that like had really quality beaches.
Yeah, I would say like the Cape Cod beaches are probably the most relaxing beaches, but you aren't going to see like cool stuff. Like Australia, it
Mhm.
sounds like you're going to see some cool stuff. You're going to see some surfers. You're going to see at least something going on in the water. The Cape's more like, all right, we're going to dip our toes in, just relax.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Now, Now, when I was doing my research on you, I stumbled across two separate things, completely different things. The first thing I stumbled across was an interview where you were talking about using Darwin Barney's glove and the impact that using a well shaped and well formed glove had on you. How did you talk your situation or get into a situation where you're like, hey, coach, can I use that? Because, infielders, they are meticulous about whose hand goes in their gloves. They
Hmm.
they don't let it happen easily. So how did that come about?
Basically, Darwin was the infield coach here my first 2 years, and totally instilled confidence in my defensive ability and like changed me as an infielder. Uh, Amazing. But he, from the get-go, like talked about how important it was for him to have a good glove. And he said, I could have never been a gold glover if I didn't have the best glove in the league. Like truly, you won't understand until you understand. And um, I I had my glove, and then one day, like he had gloves. All the gloves he used to use, he had. And he kind of just like would always bring different ones out and play catch with guys and stuff, and do like the infield drills with us and things. And yeah, one day he just let me use one and said, "Hey, like try this, feel what it feels like." And I was like, "Wow, this catches it way better than my glove." And um, I began to just ask him, "Hey, like, can I try that glove? Can I use it?" And then he just said, "Hey, like, you should use it." And I started using them every day. But yeah, he's something different about the way he breaks in a glove, and it just catches it better.
Yeah, did he like share a secret with you of like how to achieve that, or was he kind of like, you know what? This kid's he's gonna be fun to talk to for a long time in the baseball world. Let's keep him coming back to me. For every time he needs a new glove, he's gonna need to come through me.
Yeah, I don't know. He shared some tips, but haven't had the same success breaking in my new Wilsons from Oregon State. Um, so
Well,
I don't
we'll
know.
we'll
I think
definitely
I need to keep working on it.
we'll definitely get talking to a few different people who can put their minds together to help you. I used to relace baseball gloves a lot, so if you ever need help with that sort of thing, just let me know.
Yeah,
I
for
couldn't
sure.
field. I couldn't field for anything. I looked like a horse with no hoofs out there on the mound. But I at least knew how to make the gloves fold easy.
Yeah.
Now, another thing I learned in my extensive research, because I'm a little bit weird in how I go about my ways. I'll Google you a little bit, but I'm transparent with you about my process, and I'll look through Instagram, see if anything sticks out. I noticed that in the fall you were honored at a football game, and you were wearing like the coolest outfit I've ever seen in my life. Like, you got nice pants on, a really cool sweater. Is that like, do you have average Australian style? Like, is that the norm around there, or is that something where it's like, no, that's the Bazzana flair on it right there?
It's interesting. I was having this conversation while I was back home with my Australian friends that play baseball in the US. Um, and we were talking about how in Australia, if you like, when people go out, whether it's for dinner or just go out in general, like the standard is just like you sort of dressing up a little bit, and that's just the
Okay.
way it is. That's just the way it is. And then you come here, and every single person's wearing Lulu joggers and a Lulu shirt, and or a Nike dry fit shirt and some Lulu shorts, and like that's it. That's where they wear that everywhere. All my teammates and everyone in the Cape, same thing. So everyone's wearing the same like sort of you could go lift weights in what everyone wears everywhere here. All my teammates. Whereas like in Australia, like you separate that. Like it's like you separate going to the field in something versus going to a nice dinner with coaches. Like you'd wear like a button up and some nice pants. But I don't know. I'd say Australians like sort of have great style, and um, I'm not going to say I have great style, but I definitely enjoy putting some nice clothes on, or at least what I think's nice. And the boys might clown me a little bit for dressing up, but it's all right.
Well, the guys clowning on you, that's a textbook. That's a very American thing that I like to call good shaming, where it's like, I'm sure when you get all your accolades, you get named, the top 3 draft prospect for the 2024 draft by D1 Baseball. Your teammates see that, they give you crap about it. It's good shaming. It's what they do. It's the same thing with
Yeah,
style. It's I show up to the field, I'm in sweats. Travis shows up, he looks like a star. I'm like, damn, I wish I could do that. Wish I could do that. So, what do you have any style tips that you can leave our listeners with that they can take home with them to kind of shift towards that better thing? I love the nugget of it looks like you could lift weights in anything we wear around here because that's spot on.
yeah. No, I'd say just be able to separate your lifting clothes and your hitting clothes from going out for dinner or going to someone's house for food or taking a girl out on a date, whatever it is. You got to separate those two things. You shouldn't be wearing the same shirt for both. I think that's what I got.
Yeah, but of course, if you are a freshman, just wear your team issued gear everywhere. That's the coolest thing to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, wrapping up, looking ahead to the 2024 season, who are some Oregon State teammates that we need to keep our eye on?
Yeah. Um, First one that comes to my head is just I think is going to break out even more this year. Mason Guerra, he will probably play corner infield, maybe a little bit of left field for us this year. And he had a great 2023 season, but I've seen him make strides that are ready to show on the field in the last couple of months. And I'm super excited for him because he's sort of got the potential to be one of the best bats in the country. And no one's really seen that from him yet. Maybe back in high school, he showed incredible ability, and he showed it last year. But he really hasn't tapped into all he's got, and I think he's going to show that this year. Um, on the pitching side, Aiden May, he's got some of the best stuff I think we'll see in the country this year, uh, especially breaking ball. Uh, so I'm excited to see him show up late in the season too, and show the world, show the world what he's got because that's when it matters. And yeah, I think the biggest thing is just like watch out for our whole offense as a whole. I think I'm excited to see how we perform, but really 1 through 9, 1 through 12 right now, bats wise is legit. Like guys that could hit at the top of the lineup are hitting in the 9 hole, and I think it's going to be a real impressive season on that front, and hopefully we can take it all the way to Omaha and then to the national championship. That's sort of where the team's expectations are at, but I think we've got a really solid squad, and there's a lot of guys that are going to perform.
Travis, we might need to hire you over here at D1 Baseball. That was a phenomenal scouting report, phenomenal roundup of who we should look out for. I mean, you narrowed it down quick. That's the fastest answer I've had to that question so far. So good on you, man. I appreciate you having that answer ready, locked, and loaded. Now, last question. What is the mindset for Travis Bazzana going into the 2024 season?
Pour into the guys as much as I can and focus focus solely on how I can like bring the best energy and bring the most out of the guys around me. And if I focus on that, like everything we're doing in terms of winning is going to take care of itself. And then if we go out and take care of the winning part, everything that plays out in terms of the draft and moving into the professional ranks is going to take care of itself. But I just got to control my day-to-day work, day-to-day actions, and let that rub off on the guys around me and really just bring a winning identity with everyone and really continue to get better every day and set that standard for me and my teammates, so we're all getting better and we put ourselves in a good position to win a lot of games and then go out and win in Omaha. But yeah, I think just like keeping the focus on winning day in, day out, winning all the little decisions in my life in training and whatever, nutrition, sleep, and then just keep it on that process to where all the other stuff's going to take care of itself. But just honing in on the small details and not getting caught up in any hype or external noise.
Absolutely. No, that's a phenomenal answer. And I think that's the mindset to have of the just, look, we take care of the small things every day, then the big things become easy. So I love where your head's at. I'm excited to watch the Oregon State Beavers in 2024. I'm excited to watch you in 2024. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us, Travis. I really appreciate it.
No worries. It was good. Thank you, Steve.